went into the insurance industry knowing absolutely nothing about it. We had no business being in this business, and we grew our business from $0 in premium to over $15 million in under a 5-year period. And it was because we...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very exciting conversation that we're about to have with Lindsay Bolton. Lindsay Bolton is a master at setting up automation for insurance agency owners who use AgencyZoom. And in today's video, she's going to go over 5 automations that agency owners could use in their agency to better set up the service pipelines in AgencyZoom. Before we dive into the 5 different pipelines and the automations that you're going to go over, give us a little backstory of yourself. How did you come up with these, and what did you do before you launched AgencyZoomify?
So I actually started off way back in the day as an elementary school teacher. My husband was a recruiter for Farmers Insurance, and he came home from work one day and accidentally recruited me. We went into the insurance industry knowing absolutely nothing about it. We had no business being in this business, and we grew our business from $0 in premium to over $15 million in under a 5-year period. We had a team of over 20 staff. We earned President's Council, Toppers Club every year, and multiple awards, including Mentor Agent of the Year, Commercial Agent of the Year, and Life Agent of the Year in our district. We had used AgencyZoom not until about 2 years into agency ownership. And it was because we were so hungry for a system that could encompass everything that we needed it to. We were on pen and paper, very much old school type of insurance agents. And whenever we transferred into this system, it revolutionized our agency. Now, the system itself comes as a blank platform. And so whenever you get AgencyZoom, you have to build out everything inside of it. And so I would download this demo, and then I would cancel it, and then download the demo, and then cancel it over and over again until I was actually successful in building a system that fit our agency. Now, throughout the years, I'd have people come to me and say, "Hey, Lindsay, how are you doing what you're doing?" And I'd point to AgencyZoom and show them what we had built. So over the course of working as a farmer's agent, I would help people on the side build out their AgencyZoom accounts. And so whenever we left Farmers this year, we decided that this would be a great avenue for us to go into to help other people grow their businesses.
Yeah, when people think of AgencyZoom, they think of the sales pipeline and the sales dashboard. And that's really what most agents use AgencyZoom for. But there's a whole other side to AgencyZoom around service. That's the part that most agents want most help with. And that's going to be really the big focus of today. With that, let's jump into the first pipeline. And this one is around retaining clients around the renewal process.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and hop in there. So what we're looking at here are 2 different sections of the retained pipeline. You have, once their renewal date has passed, it's going to have the automation start 30 business days after their renewal date. Now, each piece of automation, you'll see that it starts with English, and then this one's in Spanish. We have the tags turned off here for Spanish speakers on this first one, and included on the second one to make sure that it's organized based off of your tags that you've set up in AgencyZoom. However, if you go over to this first piece of automation, 30 days after their renewal date, it's going to begin reaching out to them for these cross-sale opportunities. So you can see this one's going to talk about boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more. Now, you can see that I have mine toggled off right now. However, you can simply toggle on all of the automation at one time, or if you're wanting to just turn on specific pieces, you can click to toggle on and off right here. The second part of this sequence is at the bottom. Prior to their next renewal, they're going to be getting messaging that is going out up to 60 days prior to their renewal to schedule their policy review or FFR with the client. There are no call tasks throughout this period of time. It's solely text and emails to generate interest for that policy review, which is going to save your clients time and you time and your team time on reaching out to the client. You're letting the system work for you instead of the system working you.
So some agents would say, well, this creates additional service work. If I don't send out emails or text messages, then people will just go about their day and they won't call us, they won't email us and text us. But if we're sending out emails and text messages, then we'll show up every day to a lot of responses. And maybe that'll open up a can of worms where people will start asking, okay, how much is my policy? Why did my rate go up? Walk us through the core benefits of having something like this in place where you're reaching out to existing customers. And if you don't have this, what are the repercussions of not having this pipeline?
It's surprising that you say that because I hear that so often from clients. And it's one of those things, it's kind of how you have to rewire the way that you think about service, right? You want to be in front of your clients. You want to have those policy reviews with them because that relationship that you're building during that conversation is what's keeping them around. You ignoring them or not ignoring them, but you avoiding those conversations and not trying to get them on the phone is only separating you from that client. And so it's easier for them to leave you at that point if they don't have that relationship there. It's also giving you the opportunity to look for those cross-sale opportunities, those gaps in their coverage to help them long term. Their needs are changing on a biannual, annual basis that you, as their insurance agent, are responsible for helping them to make sure they are insured correctly.
And how does this differ from the commercial side? So this is a personal lines follow-up sequence. Is the commercial side similar?
The commercial side works the same. The language is just different inside of it. So that's all it is the language is different, but the idea behind it is the same way.
Now, you've set this up for a lot of agency owners. Can you think of an example of this paying off really well for an agency that you've set this automation up for?
Absolutely. So I have an agent, she's an independent agent, and she came to me super overwhelmed with her renewals. She said that she has a team of 4 people, including herself, and she had over a $3 million book of business, and she was the one servicing all of the renewals. And she had a manual process of reaching out to them via phone call and text message and email on her own accord to get them on the phone for these policy reviews. And whenever we introduced the system to her, it was like a godsend because she was able to use the system to generate the responses coming back to her from the clients instead of her doing that manual process. This saved her tens of hours a week making the system work for her, right? And so it alleviated so much off of her plate that she was able to go focus on things that are actually growing her business. And so that's a huge success story that we have with this specific pipeline for retention.
Amazing. And finally, I see order of first text, then email, then text, and then email. Is that the general cadence that you have as you alternate between text and email outreach?
Yes. And trying to get to them with some of them may have a phone number that is accessible and sometimes they don't. And so alternating is basically to try to ensure that they are receiving something from you if they don't have accurate data, or maybe they just don't use email or don't accept, or maybe their text messages block spam or whatever it is.
Let's shift gears and go to the second pipeline. This is past due payments. What is this pipeline and automation?
Our past due payment pipeline is exactly what it sounds like. This is probably my favorite pipeline because as a farmer's agent, I felt like I was constantly chasing down clients for payments and arrears. And so the way that we structured this pipeline is whenever you enter the service request into AgencyZoom, you actually put in the due date of the past due payment and the late payment amount due, so that it plugs it into the automation for you as it's reaching out to the client for their late payment. Okay, so for instance, this first text, it doesn't have the placeholder in there. Oh, here it is. One moment. It says, "Hi, customer first name. This is agency location name. We noticed your recent payment didn't go through. Your payment of late payment amount due is due by due date. When's the best time to give you a call to get this taken care of so we can keep your policy active?" Okay, so it's going to reach out to them for up to 30 days before their due date. Now, let's say that I don't catch the late payment until 10 days prior to the due date. It will start it at the 8-day mark. So it will start reaching out to them and it will ignore and not trigger this above automation. It places them exactly where they need to go in that pipeline based off of when their due date is. So 8 days prior to, it's going to schedule out a late payment call. You'll notice that I only have 4 scheduled tasks for phone calls throughout this pipeline. This is to alleviate, again, that workload from your team having to track down people for their payments. It's giving them adequate time to make the payment while also having adequate points of touch throughout the process to make sure that the client knows that you're there to help in any way, to get this payment taken, to just let you know what you need from them, what they need from you.
If the client processes the payment on their own, let's say they log into the application, they process the payments, they would have to let you know that they processed the payments, or an automated message will go out saying, hey, Vlad, you missed the payments. And they'll reply saying, I actually took care of it. And that's when you turn off the automation. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. So there are some AI features that we'll be releasing in the near future that can actually work within both of your systems for especially independent companies. To where you don't have to do that. However, right now the process for farmers agents is to have to manually move that over to completed once it's completed.
So I see phone calls and text messages, but no emails. Is that intentional?
Yeah, for whatever reason, whenever we were doing our split testing for this pipeline, we weren't getting any responses on the email side. It was all text. I guess it's become a standard in the industry, or standard in general, not even just in our industry. When it comes to late payment text, everything comes through text message now for those. And so we had more success with doing it that way.
And do you encourage people to self-pay through the online app, or is it always give us a call to process this payment over the phone?
So it actually depends on the client that we're working with. Some of them provide us the links to the specific carriers that they work with, and we can plug in those links into our automation for the client to just click on and go to log into their account and make the payment. But it's completely up to the person that we're working with on what they want us to do for that situation. On our past due payment pipeline, we actually have a stage for payment date set. So if that client does say, hey, I can make my payment on the 13th, give me a call then, you can actually move them into the payment date set pipeline, where it's going to create a task for you to put this appointment on your calendar for whenever they said to call them to take that payment. And if it's in the payment is late pipeline and it goes through this 30-day process without being paid, or the payment was not made and now it needs to be reinstated or rewritten, the system is automatically going to move them over to canceled reinstate pipeline, where the language changes, and it's now going to alert them that, hey, your policy is canceled due to non-payment. Are you currently covered elsewhere? We may be able to reinstate or rewrite your policy if you call or text today. So it's giving them that urgency, and it reaches out to them over a 7-day period to try to get that back.
Now, Lindsay, what if a client gets one of these messages and calls you and says, I don't have the funds to make a payment right now. I get paid next week on Friday. That's when you can reach out to me. What do you do in that case, where you can continue to follow up with them through automation, but not get these messages that are scheduled to go out actually to go out?
Yeah, absolutely. I just go hop over to the service center, and what I would do is go down to my past due payment pipeline. I'd see that person right here that I'm talking with, and if they said that they could make their payment on, let's say, the 13th of this month, what I would do is drag and drop them over to payment date set. It's then going to create a task for your CSR to put that calendar date on their calendar, or a task inside of AgencyZoom for that date to call that insured to take the payment. If they don't make their payment, let's say they don't make their payment at all and it goes past the due date and cancels, the system is automatically going to move them over from payment date is late over to canceled/reinstate, where the language is actually going to change, and it's going to now alert the insured, hey, your policy is canceled. It needs to either be reinstated or rewritten. Please give our office a call today so that we can get this issue resolved.
So when the payment is late, it's in the first stage, we move it to the second stage if the client says, call me on the 13th. And is there besides a task set, is there an automated text that goes out to them on the 13th saying, okay, this is the day that you said you would pay? How does that work?
It's just a task. That's it. There's only a task in there, and then it's not a bad idea to add in a text message. I'm not against it if an agent wanted me to do that. But for this one, there's only a task.
That makes sense. That's super helpful. Now, Lindsay, why is this important? And can you think of a case study or an example where this really came in helpful for an agency?
For my own agency, using this pipeline made all of the difference, because we were able to take off that chase to get the payments completed off of our team members, so they were able to focus on actually servicing our clients through policy reviews and coverage checks and all of that.
One of the things that is now being approved by a lot of carriers, and Farmers is one of them, this has been very prominent in the independent world, but Farmers is doing this as well, where they are allowing us to have virtual assistants. These are people who work internationally. And if you hire somebody in the Philippines or Brazil, $5 an hour for administrative assistant work is very reasonable. That's considered to be good pay, especially if you pay them 40 hours a week. So for $5 an hour, you can hire somebody overseas who logs into your Apex account, takes a look at all these alerts that you have, including non-pay, and puts them on automation in Agency Zoom. So it's not something that your service team has to do. This is something that you can outsource. That way your service team can focus on taking the inbound calls from the responses that come in from here. Are you seeing more agents leveraging virtual assistants to put them on these automations?
Yes, actually, I have one myself, and it's a great service to have. And I have one agent that has over 50 VAs. And so he is definitely using the services, and he actually doesn't go through a company to do it. He goes direct. I'm not sure how exactly he does it to get the resumes and everything in, but he doesn't go through a third-party company. And that's the way to really go about that. And that way, if you can, or if you can figure out the way to do it, maybe your next conversation should be with someone who's done it. But because if you go and outsource it to somebody, like I'm paying like $12 an hour, but if you can go direct, you can really get it at a great rate.
We recently hired 10 virtual assistants, fully remote, $5 an hour. We didn't use an agency, we just went direct. So for anybody interested in how we did that, just send us an email to info@insurancesaleslab.com. We can send you a training video on how we did that. Let's shift gears here and go to the third pipeline. This is the inspection pipeline. What is the inspection pipeline and why is it important?
So for our inspection pipeline, we actually have several different stages. You're going to see the inspection received, inspection review completed with customer, sent inspection to carrier, or past due pending cancellation. Each stage is really important, and before I get into it, I want to say that this pipeline really does not pertain to independent agents, is what I've found doing these build outs for people. I used it so much in my farmers insurance agency. I felt like I was getting a new inspection on my desk every single day. But in the independent world, I've learned that they don't really have a need for this. But whenever you're a farmer's agent or Allstate or whoever you're with, captive, they like to send you inspections. So you would put them into the inspection received pipeline where it's going to schedule a task for your CSR to review the inspection. It will also, on business day 2, once you've had time to review the inspection, it's going to send out a text message to the client. Good morning, first name. We received a notice from policy carrier stating that additional inspection requirements are needed to keep your policy active. Please contact us as soon as possible to help get this resolved. And it has your CSR's name here at the end. It reaches out to them through text and email over the course of a 10-day period. Once they respond and you've completed the review with them, you're going to move them to inspection review completed with customer. Now with this, it's going to reach out to them 10 days prior to their due date, repeatedly reaching out to remind them, hey, you have these requirements due for your inspection. Hi, first name. I just emailed you about the inspection on your policy type. So about the inspection on your homeowners policy with farmers that is due by January 15th. We need to address the next steps ASAP to prevent changes, including cancellation. I'll be calling, but feel free to reach out to me anytime. And it has the agent's first name. So it's reminding them throughout the process, hey, we need this back to keep your policy in force. Once it's been sent to the carrier, it's going to create to-dos for the CSR to check to make sure that the inspection is satisfactory. If it's gone past the due date and it is pending cancellation, it's going to look a little bit different. Now this language is more on the high alert side. Hi, customer first name. This is agency location name. Our records show your policies at risk, either pending cancellation or already canceled. Please call us at agency location phone right away so we can review your options. So, and that process goes over a 25-day period. So it's reaching out to them over that course of 25 days. Hey, let's get this fixed. Usually after 30 days, there's no fixing it. The policy just has to be rewritten completely. And then there's obviously the completed stage. I feel like it's important to note that after every service request is completed, we put in an automated survey that goes out to the client to ask them how we did on our services. This is to help you to gain more Google reviews in the process of servicing your clients. And yeah.
So this is the automation and the messages that go out. Do you have a pipeline where you have the different stages specifically for inspections?
So on this part, if you go to your service center, the little steering wheel on the black hand panel, if you go into the drop down, you'll find all of your pipelines that you've built on the service side in this drop down menu. For the inspection pipeline, you'll see the stages also across right here. The section that I was in just before, this is the lifecycle automation. Inside of the lifecycle automation, you're going to see kind of the back end of everything, not where your producers or your CSRs are going to be actually functioning on a day-to-day basis. So where they're actually going to work these requests is on this screen right here. It's super user friendly. It's easy to move people around. All you have to do is drag and drop them where they need to go throughout the process. And you can even move them to a different pipeline down here by dragging and dropping them, or you can delete it if it was a mistake. So it's a super easy way of doing that.
So first stage is we received it. Next one is you reviewed it with the client. Third one is you sent the inspection to the carrier. And then the fourth one is past due pending. And once you put it in completed, every month it just resets on the completed side. Whereas the first four stages, the cards stay intact. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. You'll only see if I were to move Kimberly to completed, it would stay there until the end of the month or the end of the folio period, depending on how your account's set up. And then these will all disappear on a monthly basis while these all stay intact. You're 100% right.
Now, for the fourth pipeline, this has to do with missing documents. I know in our agency, one of the most common alerts that we get is missing documents, where the company sends us several alerts saying the client has to provide proof of prior, they need to sign this document, that document. And it's one thing to have one person on the service team handling all of the alerts, but once you introduce 2, 3 CSRs, you have to get really organized in how you work those alerts. And I know you have a really organized way of working missing documents. What are we looking at here, and why is this important?
So there are 3 different ways that you can send out documents. You have your agency sent e-sign, your carrier sent e-sign, and your agency mailed out. The reason why there's 3 different stages for just the way that you send out the document is because the language inside of the automation matters. The way that you're instructing the client to give that document back to you in a swift way matters. And so agency sent e-sign is for your documents that you as an agency are sending out through your own e-signature account to the client. So the language inside of there is going to be more along the lines of, hey, Vlad, this is Lindsay with the Bolton Agency. I sent you a document via Sign Now or via DocuSign that I need back before the end of the week. Can you please shoot me a text once you've had that document completed? All right, so it's letting you know to go and check that. Now, versus carrier sent e-sign, your companies like Progressive or Allstate or Farmers, they're going to send out those documents for you as soon as the policy is bound. So for those, you're really just trying to nudge the client a little bit to, hey, check your email. They sent you documents. X policy carrier sent you documents to sign. Please get this done by this date, so on and so forth. And then you have the ones that are mailed out physically, that you actually need them to put the papers back in the mail to give it back to you, right? And before a certain date, so it gets back to you on time. So the language inside of that automation is slightly different there as well, trying to get them to mail it back.
I think one really important thing for agency owners who are watching this, they might be looking at the different stages and thinking, which one of these apply to me, which of these don't apply to me. And I think it's important to note that when they work with you on setting this up, everything is custom. So you have the different stages available, but depending on what their agency needs or doesn't need, that'll determine on what you keep in here and what you remove. Is that right?
Exactly. So within our training process, depending on which package you get, when you have our personalized sales and service package, you're going to get 8 weeks of training once a week for 8 weeks. And in that process, we have a structure where we learn your agency's processes and we kind of do a merge in a way. Like for instance, I had a farmer's agent in California this morning that was reaching out about they have to check the annual mileage verification in California. I don't know if that's a new thing, very recent with farmers, or if it's just a California thing, but they have to have a form signed on an annual basis in order to check for the annual mileage verification. So he needed a process put in place for that, for just that one document, right? And so we were able to build that out inside of his missing documents pipeline in AgencyZoom to fit his agency better. And so that's something that we do throughout the training process for no additional cost. We help to mold our system to your agency.
Now, for a client who is getting documents mailed to them and they need to provide proof of prior, would they sit in stage 3 and 5? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to show you real quick how to start the service request. They're going to be in both. So you're going to have to create 2 service requests for this one client. However, the way to do that would be to go to the 3 people on the black hand panel, it's your customers tab, and you'd search for the customer that you are creating the service request for. There's 3 different ways that you can start a service request inside of AgencyZoom. The first is to go to the services button right here and click on add service request. Underneath the summary is where I would start to type in, okay, I need proof of prior. I'm going to relate it to whichever policy that I'm wanting to. I'm going to put in which pipeline it goes into, stage, category, set the priority level. This is where we were talking about earlier in the past due payment pipeline, where to put in that late payment amount due, and then for the due date right here. Whenever you're done creating the service request, you can just click save at the bottom. The second way would be to go to this blue add button at the top where I'm going to add a service request. It'd pop up again. Or I can go over to this little steering wheel icon right here underneath the client's name to create a service request right there. So it's very easily accessible on the client's account to go and do that. But if you had to do 2 different stages for the same pipeline, you would just need to create 2 service requests.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay, is there anything else on the missing documents pipeline that we should know about?
You'll need a missing documents pipeline if you're wanting to be more organized, to have a stronger workflow, stronger systems in your agency. Doing this is going to help you guys to offload to scale in your own business.
Yeah, I can't think of more common alerts outside of missing payments than missing documents. So when you're thinking of different pipelines to start with, that one is one of the first ones that agents should start with. Okay, let's transition to pipeline number 5. This is the book transfer or acquisitions.
Absolutely. So our book transfer pipeline is exactly what it sounds like. It's for people that are buying a book of business, right? So if you have purchased a book of business or are looking to purchase a book of business, this is a pipeline that you need. I've purchased many books of business in my career with farmers, and this is something that not only helped offload that workload of having to call each individual client manually to introduce myself. That's an industry expectation, at least on the client part. And this pipeline alleviated that while also helping with my retention. So what it does is inside of the automation, it's going to reach out to the client over the course of the first year. So it's going to reach out to them with messaging that looks something along the lines of like this. Hi, first name, this is agent name with agency location name. We're your new agent, and I want you to know that nothing will change on you with your current policy. We'd love to set up a quick time to connect and review your coverage. Reply Y or N if you'd like me to reach out to schedule. So these quick Y or N messaging at the end, it really is to just help generate a response. Like, let's get the conversation going. This part right here, nothing will change with your current policy. I can't tell you how many times I had clients reach out after an acquisition thinking that we just changed their policy because we're their new agent. So we made sure to include messaging like that throughout. You'll notice that we have an email personally welcoming them, letting them know, again, coverages will not change. You now have access to our award-winning team. We'd love the opportunity to review your policy with you to make sure there's no gaps and everything is tailored to your needs. This kind of goes back to your question about, well, if we don't message them at all, then I can fly by without having this conversation. But whenever an agency transitions from one agency owner to the next, you have to establish that relationship quickly, or they're just going to dip out and leave. They don't have that tie to you. They may have had it with their previous agent, but now this is a flag to go shopping. And your job to keep that business is to fly in there and create the relationship and keep that from happening. And so this pipeline really helps mitigate that and to help build those relationships.
What's the general theme of the messages here? I see that there's quite a few outreaches. You bought a book of business, you upload them in there. What are we reaching out to them about?
So primarily we're reaching out to them to establish trust. to let them know that we care and that we're here to help them, and that we want to talk to them. We're not avoiding conversation. For instance, this one, we've built our reputation on exceptional customer service. That means being proactive, answering questions quickly, and making sure you always feel confident about your coverage. I'd love to have a chance to connect with you and review your current policies. This ensures you have the right protection and nothing slips through the cracks. Would you like me to schedule a call this week? Reply, wire in, and I'll take care of it. So it's really just proactively reaching out to them throughout the year to let them know that you care and that you're here to help.
And at what point would you turn off the automation so that they don't get further messages? Is there a trigger that would result in you turning off the automation for this pipeline?
If they were to say stop, then yes, we would turn it off for that person. Or if they said, I'm not interested in a policy review, really any time that someone answers in this pipeline, it's going to automatically turn off for the remainder of the course of the pipeline. That goes for any pipeline inside of AgencyZoom. Once they respond, it's going to turn off. And so it's your job from there to take it to where it needs to go.
Anything else on the book transfer or acquisition pipeline that people should know about?
Just that this is the pipeline it's probably the most important pipeline that we have when it comes to retention. When you're buying a book of business, it is an investment that you're making into your agency that I've done before many times. And I know that gut-wrenching feeling of not knowing whether or not we were going to be profitable on this purchase. And so this is just another tool in your tool belt to help you to make sure that retention stays high and that your customers are touched and that things aren't falling through the cracks, that you are being proactive in helping keep that book of business.
Now, this isn't in regards to any one of the 5 pipelines, but just a general question. You mentioned texting a lot in the examples that you've given. When it comes to texting from AgencyZoom, how do you do that? How do you integrate with your phone system? What are some best practices around texting using AgencyZoom?
Absolutely. So if you go to the little settings cog in the bottom left-hand side of your screen and you go up to integration, you'll see a list of all the different integrations that AgencyZoom integrates with. And I've personally used 3 out of the 7 here. And I can say that RingCentral is definitely the go-to. They actually fully integrate with AgencyZoom on every front. And I'm going to show you a document here that's going to demonstrate what I mean by that. So you see each provider at the top, and you can see how they integrate here on the left-hand panel. You'll see that RingCentral and Lightspeed are the only 2 companies on this list that fully integrate with AgencyZoom. The reason why I say RingCentral is my number 1 superior is because it has the AI features built into the system. So it does the AI note-taking for you, which eliminates time that your CSRs are spending doing note-taking after they just got off the phone with somebody, the quicker that they can answer their next call for service. And so that's kind of the idea behind it. And then also it has keywords, keyword search, I think is what they call it, where you can plug in words like life insurance, and it will listen to the number of times that you say the word life insurance on the phone call, or your producers say the word life insurance, to track who is saying it the most. So you can reward those that are pushing specific products that you need to in your agency. So it fully integrates, and it has these cool AI features that make the integration process seamless.
Cool. Well, this has been very helpful. Thank you, Lindsay, for showing that and walking us through that. For agency owners who want to reach out and work with you and have you built out a custom build out on the sales or service side, do you mind walking us through your website and showing us the different ways that agency owners can work with you?
So here's our website, AgencyZoomify.com. As you scroll down, you'll see different ways that we can help. Why to choose us? We're built by agents for agents. We do a fast and seamless build. Our turnaround time on a build out, as long as your text registration is completed, is about 2-3 days. For a turnaround time, personalized to your process. So we're really building it to fit your agency. It's not just cookie cutter, throw it in there templates and make changes to make sure it fits your needs. And we also offer ongoing support and guidance. So we've been in your shoes. We're not just going to say, here's your system, now use it. We're going to make sure that you understand how to use it before leaving us. The last thing I want is for someone to be able to turn around and say that they weren't trained or they didn't understand how to work in the system after working with us. That just wouldn't happen, because I think it's the teacher background in me and having that teaching background, but I genuinely want to make sure you're set up for success. If you're successful, we're successful. And so at the end of the day, that's our goal. You'll see on here a picture of myself and my husband. If you click onto our story, you'll learn more about our background, and you can actually see how our agency grew in these photos below throughout the years as an agency owner. So we started off real small, and you can see this is actually at one of your conferences right here, Vlad, and then grew down to here. And you'll see our pretty little Christmas picture in the bottom from last year. So, in all of this, I give credit to my success with AgencyZoom and working inside of the system, because without automating things, we would have never made it to be as big as we were.
Awesome. And for agents who want to reach out to you guys directly to figure out which package makes most sense to them, what should they do?
For agents that want to reach out to us for our services, you can reach out to me via email or via phone number right here. By doing so, I will schedule about a 1-hour demo call with you where we ask questions to learn more about your agency and your operations so that we can plan for your build out.
Thank you, Lindsay, again for this call. I appreciate it. This was really helpful. Next time we connect, I think we should do another one on the sales pipeline and see what you do on the sales side.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.